We have lost Ruby. How are you doing, people of the regular chat? Hopefully Ruby will reconnect. Okay, she is back.
Sorry about that. I'm thinking of upgrading to Starlink. My internet is kind of ass.
You need fiber optics. That's it.
Fiber optics, but I do like on the go streaming. Like I'm planning a trip in a couple weeks, and so it's like I've heard Starlink is good. Like if you're on the go.
You're
Some
going
people
to
in
South
chat.
Carolina.
I'm just going to visit another YouTuber, and it's just going to be like a little content vacation. So you say you're living off of the like funds and stuff that you made earlier in your career at the moment.
Well, actually, I'm making still a very good salary just streaming and with super chats. So I'm more than maintaining myself. But yeah, back in those days we were paid in Bitcoin very often by our audience, and Bitcoin has appreciated very much since 2016. So that gives me a layer of safety that I can do what I want in my art rather than do what's needed. I don't have to be kneeling to gambling sponsors that will give me $1,000 for a stream.
Yeah, for me. I have a similar boundary there where that doesn't appeal to me at all because I wouldn't want to live with myself doing that. Like, what else is there to live for except having some kind of positive impact and legacy? And actually, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, what would you want your legacy to be, or like, what's the impact you most want to have on society right now?
Well, my legacy will be that I had a theory called the theory of phenotypic revolutions. I published it so that everyone would know about it, but the world rejected me. The system that controls who speaks and who's respectable decided to go at me with hit pieces rather than an appreciation of what my scientific theory can give as an insight. And I want to prove down the line in 1,000 years, I think that what people will say about me is that I'm the proof that the Inquisition is not over, that the killing of greater minds is still the case in 2025, just like it was 400 years ago, just like it was 1,000 years ago, and that we are not an evolved society. We are not modern. We are not more intelligent. In fact, novelty still affects the lesser brains and still get.
We live in a society. We live in a society. So let me be really serious. I'm actually very shocked. I wasn't really shocked. I think Ruby already mentioned a few times prior to their her Celebrity Sunday that she was going to get JF on, and it's been a while since I've listened to JF. If you're not aware who JF exactly is, he was a YouTuber for a while. He evolved himself a lot with the growing HBD movement and the alt right for a while, and after all that fun stuff happened, he more or less went off somewhere else for a little bit of time. The reason why I think Ruby interviewed JF was mainly to get answers about the disappearing of Mama JF, was 2 years ago, right? A couple days ago, right? And she was very curious about the whole case and wanted to really pick his mind about that and just generally ask questions. They went into asking other questions, not simply about Mama JF, but as well about other stuff that I found very interesting, right? Because I'll be real with you, going into this interview, I wasn't sure what would happen, right? Given that JF has a very much a tendency to be kind of high and mighty sometimes, right? More or less, I actually was very happy with this interview. I even streamed it, right? I even streamed the whole interview. Well, not all of it, but like the good parts of the interview, dealing with JF, right?
Interacted with her for 30 seconds or 1 minute. Now, if you interact with a delusional person for 1 minute, they're not going to share their most inner hallucinations. I'm sure you know that, having had psychosis yourself, maybe drug induced in your case, but it takes a lot of depth.
Induced.
Yes, drug withdrawal induced.
It was withdrawal related. Okay, get it clear.
Okay. Well, it takes a lot of depth before someone who's hallucinating or having psychosis will reveal the inner structure of her thought. And so to those people, who have seen the social face of Mama JF, be careful. It was not all there was.
Yeah, I mean, learning about her, she just seemed like an interesting character, and I was surprised to find out that her dad was a physicist. And I was also surprised that I could not find anything of her family, like trying to help find her or like any statements from them. And I was like, what the heck? Like, wouldn't they be looking for her? Or like, was there a reason? Was she disconnected or alienated from her family?
Mama JF herself had some degree of hostility toward anyone she was interacting with. So the way these women work is often they have their current guy, and then everyone before are abusers and evil people, and they leave everyone behind. And eventually, even if you're that guy for a moment that they respect and trust, eventually you become part of the cone of, these people are evil against me. A psychotic person is always projecting herself into the future and always burning all of the bridges behind. Now, that doesn't mean that that her parents were not caring for her and not trying to find her. In fact, they did participate to the police work. It's just that they've decided to do it privately. They're not public people, so they don't have to defend on YouTube. I have to, because I'm a public person, but they want to live a private life, and they're helping in the way they can. But also, we're faced with someone who has chosen. Mama JF is a drifter who has chosen to go out there without documents, without tracing apparatus, without cell phones, without any way for us to help find her. So you have to respect this at some point. And her parents, just like me, we understand what kind of mind she has, and we understand that she wouldn't like it if we were to try to find her.
I mean, some people are like that, and I did see there was evidence of her like going up and out just on trips in other scenarios. So that is plausible. She did have a character that was really vibrant, eccentric, and inclined towards like kind of trips and stuff. So I can see that. My concern would be just like, I don't know, if my husband and like father of my kids was like, yo, I want to run out into the woods and just like live there, I don't know if I would personally feel comfortable with it. Do you understand why people think that's like kind of crazy?
No, I mean,
Now they get into talking about Mama JF and her disappearance, right? It is interesting that the disappearance, right? And from what I understand from just a little bit of going through X and what people have said about Mama JF, that she has a tendency to do stuff like this, right? She's a very much what's the word, eccentric character. Hopefully I said it right. She's a very eccentric. Oh, and I messed it up anyway. It doesn't matter. She's a very outgoing character, I guess, for lack of better words. Which I guess may explain her disappearance, because he would bring up things relating to the last time they talked, which they talked for 30 minutes. He mentioned that they texted for a little bit and they even called, but he said that didn't last so long because she told him that they only have 30 minutes to talk. Truthfully, this whole Mama JF stuff is interesting. Whether or not I want to cover it down the line, kind of up in the air. Mostly because I don't really, I feel bad for Mama JF, but at the same time, when we're talking about JF, I'm more interested about the other stuff, less about Mama JF. But really, I think throughout this whole thing, Ruby was really trying to ask those kind of questions, right? Asking the question of her disappearance, the type of character she was, interaction from other people, his response, other people respond. And I think Ruby did a pretty good job, not even pretty good, I'd say really, really good job in getting down into the minutia, getting into the the dirty, the grindy of it all, right? Even asking about his past, as we saw earlier, about his career, what she can do, I got to better her life, and JF being get pregnant, breed, have kids. That's just very quite funny. And I mean, there were certain instances where JF kind of snobbed at Ruby. Maybe Ruby would disagree with me, or maybe she would agree with me if she watched this video. But I do think that he had a tendency to be very snobby towards Ruby in some part, right? Maybe.
Googled the case details like while I was disconnected for a second there, and it says that like she left her credit cards and stuff at home, And that there was no evidence of like Gmail passwords being shared or anything.
I don't know where you get this. There was no evidence of Gmail password. It did happen, and it's a conversation that the police has. Now, as far
How
as
about
leaving
the
her
credit card?
cards, yeah, she did leave the family's credit card, and she told me if it can help you manage the finances, continue managing the finance in a way that protects our wealth for our children and for the inheritance toward our children.
And it also said that she left a cell phone as well. Is that not true, or is Google just lying to me?
No, Google is just lying here if it's saying this. She took her cell phone, but got rid of it 2 days later on the streets.
Why do you think she would do that?
Well, maybe because she had read Edward Snowden permanent record and she went paranoid and said, I don't want to leave any record. I want to be free from the Matrix. That sounds like the most plausible reasoning up to based on what I know.
Oh, we got Lala here.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of people have had
facial
questions about your
hair.
case. And I got to say, JF, I've heard that you deep cleaned your abode right after
the
the
fuck-
disappearance of JF.
What race are you exactly?
Yes.
Hispanic?
Yeah.
Would you like the white girl to ask it for you instead?
Yeah.
I do not talk to low IQ individuals.
JF,
sounds
JF.
like that's the kind of accent I expected from this guy. Okay, so you're saying what? Sorry.
So basically, you deep cleaned your place after your wife went missing, which coincidentally would seem like something somebody guilty would do if something were to happen horribly in that house to clean it. Like you deep cleaned it with like a suit on and all that, right? Bleach?
Well, I mean bleach. Yes, I use scrubbing bubbles actually, which contains bleach. What can I say? There's other reason to clean a house than you have killed someone. And
No,
one
of course.
the reasons is you just had your spouse leave and she told you, I'm leaving forever. And now you have a whole house to care for yourself and you want to put it in some degree of order and some degree of cleaning. So yes, I did use scrubbing bubbles. Yes, I did.
So that was the
admit.
first time you deep cleaned the house like ever, basically, after she was
No.
non-existent.
No, where do you get that? It's the first time I ever
Because
did.
you implied that Mama JF was cleaning it prior. So, yeah, I mean, probably, right?
She was participating to the care of the house before, but I was also doing it sometimes. I'm not leaving it as an exclusive female responsibility. Sometimes I clean, yes.
Ah, okay. So my thing with you is that at some point, I feel like are people still searching? Because people aren't really following your case really on the internet. After a certain amount of months, it's been what, a year? Like, what do you think happened? Did
2
she like
years.
starve to death? 2 years. Wow, that's
Well,
rough. That's tough.
I've already answered these questions with Ruby. What do I think happened? I think that my hypothesis that I like to live with is that she didn't get killed or raped by a random trucker, and that she's out there with a weird guy just fresh coming out of a psychiatric hospital, and they're just stripping in some shack of Canada, maybe making babies even.
Okay, I have
But
a
you
great
said that
question.
there's a possibility that she possibly could have been kidnapped and raped, right? You're just saying that you don't
there's a
want to believe
possibility
that.
she's
But if
been-
you
yeah.
actually truly cared about her, right? Like you would consider that as a possibility and looking to finding
yeah.
her. Because isn't it also true that she had some kind of intellectual disability or something
that's
along
not
those
true.
lines that I've heard?
That is absolutely not true. And no, I
Ruby,
do not
can
care
you-
about her. I am
Is
with
that
a
true?
new woman, and that's all I care about. My
How
current
much
family.
higher is her IQ
It's-
than Mama JF? IQ
She
difference.
Mama
seems
JF
really
is
like
120
neurodivergent
IQ
to some degree, but
approximately.
unclear.
Jesus.
She's
Mama
neuro-
Could have been a lawyer.
Is about 120 IQ. She is an extremely talented violinist and an artistic mind of the kind that I have rarely seen in females.
Okay, now my next question for you, JF, is that you said that you loved when Mama JF would venerate you as a hero of sorts in her life, right? Small mind, you were the hero in that mind. Now, my question to you is, how come she worshipped you yet basically ran away like a stray cat? Like, what was that all about?
So you see, you don't integrate the actual response that I give you. You are paranoid and you invent stuff like she had a small mind. Who said that? You
Okay,
decide this.
That's-
no, she's smart and she
pretty
plays violin. That's
So
true.
you are trying to ask loaded questions on things that I've already answered, and you are doing so in such a gay tone of voice that I'm
You're the
gonna have
one
to
that
leave.
sounds
There's
like
a
a
lot of
Liberace
load
over here.
behind
That's
the
I
crazy.
refuse
out
to
there.
submit myself to such gayness. You are
Gayness.
disgusting.
It's
Stop
disgusting.
anal sex, please.
Stop anal sex. Oh, suffer,
Hold on.
bitch. Let's
Someone-
go.
Hold on. I have another question.
Oh
Someone
no,
said
he
that
rage quit. Lalo, you ruined everything.
Let's go.
fucking
Gotta love the still image I like to stop on. Yeah, that was something. That was one way you can end an interview. I wasn't really a big fan of it, but I think, what do you expect? Overall, as I said before, really great interview from Ruby. I would have liked to see a little bit more from JF. Really kind of get into the whole like genetics and IQ stuff that JF is very much well known for. Right, that would have been an interesting thing, but obviously we didn't get that. We got that a little bit, but not like anything much more deeper than that. Also, throughout the whole stream, Ben was just like typing the whole time, trying. I guess he was trying to get up, but he, and then before this, right, Ava was already up a little bit prior before the kind of like, you can tell that JF just kind of snoff at her too. Like obviously JF will always have this level of snootiness to him towards anybody really that he finds beneath him, and that's the way he is. Though I guess in return, he just make pretty good point with coming to a certain deal of the APC, but that's not the point. Here's that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is though, I really did enjoy this. Right, I very much enjoyed this whole thing, and watching him kind of slightly crash out towards the end was top tier entertainment. Good job, Lalo. Good job. Your legacy will live on knowing that you got JF to crash out and just leave. His response when Lalo came up was even hilarious. He was like, "What is this abominable creature?" He was just like, "Nope, I will not speak to this abominable man." The Undermensch, as JF is probably calling him right now. That filthy Undermensch spoke to me. Pretty good stuff. Am I gonna keep covering? If I'm, I can't even talk. Am I gonna cover Ruby more often? Probably will. Stuff like this is why I enjoy Ruby, and I think she deserves to be covered. Just for the hell of it, right? I already covered the Dorps. May as well just do Ruby as well and see where it takes me. Till next time, God bless.